The royal editor himself, Mr. Jobson. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Very well, Jeremy. Very well indeed.
I'm going to call you Mr. Jobson. I'm going to start slightly differently because I didn't want to offend you, because a council today has been criticised in Sutton in South London, Mr. Jobson, for telling its staff not to ask people their Christian name. It says this could be offensive, but they have been called hypersensitivity to ridiculous things. So we don't want you to get anxious or sue us, so we need to ask if you're all right with Mr. Jobson, or you're OK with Robert.
I'm fine with most things, Jeremy, so whatever you want to call it.
All right, you old bugger. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Very good. Very good.
Justine Bateman, an actress, came out today. This is because Meghan bleeding Markle and Harry, the dreary couple of miserable people who didn't want to be royals, went to America, then got very upset that nobody wanted to do, and then sold secrets, and then they got no viewers or listeners, so they got axed. She labelled them disaster tourists as they volunteered with a camera crew to go out during the LA wildfires and give out meals, and there's her sort of wiping her head, you know, and looking pained, which is fine. But Ryan made a fantastic point. If that was Kate, and there have been examples over here of quite high-profile situations, people who have suffered, you do it privately. You don't shout it from the rooftops. When all of us saw those pictures, many of us saw Meghan and Harry playing on the front line, you think you're cynically using that for your own ends. Am I being harsh or truthful?
I think they're just a bit deluded as to who they are. I mean, you know, let's be honest, the royals, sometimes a lot of people would think, well, even when the royal family go out to the flood areas, there are a number of people who would say, oh my, you know, we don't want you here. It's just causing a load of mayhem. And sometimes that doesn't look good. But I think that they handle it quite well. And I think certainly Kate, when she's gone to in a situation, who's gone it mostly privately. Look, this is the couple that didn't want to be doing all this stuff. They didn't want to be royals. They insist on keeping their name, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, whatever use that is in LA. I don't know, unless you're, you know, why would you really want to do it? But then to start being royals, I mean, it's like doing these things, going out and helping and saying, what can we do? We're going to open our home up to people. Well, let's see if that actually happens. But I just thought this was just another opportunity to get in front of the cameras. And I think a lot of people in America are getting quite ground off by it, actually, and not so much. It used to just be over here, but I think people are thinking this is a little bit cynical, and it's a little bit obviously trying to get a photo opportunity to their advantage. Others might say, you know, oh well, at least they're trying to help, they're trying to do their bit.
Yes, but you do it. You do. This is. You're so privately, right, pal. You're so absolutely spot on, because of the things that have come before, because of how it seems to be, we don't want anything to do with this dreadful organisation, but we're going to use that to get a deal. We don't want publicity because it intrudes on us and causes problems, but we're going to use it for our own ends when we want to launch a cookery service or bloody jam or something.
Well, it always seems to coincide with something they're launching.
I mean, and interestingly, she had a Netflix series. What was that about, jam or something? What was the latest Netflix series?
How to cook a cake or whatever. It was pretty pathetic, but the fact that they've got to try to fulfill their obligations. You know,
yeah,
and
then she says it's not the right moment to release it. Not because it's a load of old whatever, but because of respect to the victims, and I'm out there serving food, and it just...
Well, it would have been ridiculous, wouldn't it? It would have been a ridiculous time. But, you know, what Mel Gibson said is absolutely right. I remember there were floods, I think, in Guernsey once, and you know, there was Alan Wicker, I think, lost everything he had. You know, that great guy for broadcasting, all his memories, and so it doesn't matter who you are. No. And I think that by doing what they're doing, I think people will look at this again, saying, "Look, guys, you know, just be quiet, just for 5 minutes. You know, you're not royal anymore. No. You're not anything. You don't want to be. You want the titles. You want your children to be prince and princess. You want to be seen as doing royals, doing royal tours to Africa when you're not a royal. Yeah, at the same time." You want it both ways. And I think that's always been their problem. They started off when they were in the royal family doing a pretty good job. I think things are changing though, Jeremy. I mean, I'm doing another book at the moment called The Windsor Files, following up the Catherine. And I do think we're at a change at this moment in time where monarchy has got to have a good look at itself, not just the Harry and Meghan scenario, but the whole picture has got to have a good look at itself and say, where are we going? Are we going to be relevant in 50 years' time if we continue doing the same things, dressing up in the old regalia, doing the things we're doing? And I feel there is a need for a bit of a complete reboot.
Well, I'll be really outspoken because you know what I feel about the royal family after the old man and what he did. I think that Kate Middleton will save the royal family. I've always felt that Kate Middleton.
Well, no
I think it was the greatest thing in the world when, don't take this the wrong way, people listening, right, and watching, when a commoner, because that is in essence what she will have been perceived by the courtiers in times gone by, was not only allowed to marry, but has had the most astonishing impact on all of them and everybody. And I think her husband adores her. I think she and her husband will save it. She and her husband will save it.
And I think they will, because they're doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think that's certainly, you know, I'm just talking about some of the old stuff, you know, the dressing up and this.
Yeah, but think about this, Robert. Think about this, right? If my old man was alive today, I can guarantee when William went out with that stubble, that beard, the first time he'd have gone, my God, what's happened? No, I'm being serious.
No,
even a little thing like that, right?
And I think that, you know, when your old man worked for the Queen Mother, I think there's a clear correlation between the Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and the Queen Mother, because the Queen Mother, remember that the King, George V, brought in, he changed it. You don't have to marry German princesses because if they changed the name to Windsor, and you can marry aristocrats. Well, that's what George VI did. He married an aristocrat. She wasn't a commoner, but she wasn't a royal princess from Germany. So therefore, in a way, in a modern way, Catherine is that same, is like that. And I think, like the Queen Mother saved the monarchy after the abdication crisis by supporting George VI, I think that Catherine, like you, will play a very similar role in taking the monarchy forward, and also the way that she educates her children and where her children come from. And after all, you know, on one side you've got royalty, the Queen Mother and the Queen and everything. On the other side, on Catherine's side, Catherine's grandfather was a painter and decorator.
And you know the really interesting,
you know?
mate, I agree. The kids went to the same school as mine. I will say this to you, and the way it doesn't always work like this, but what you said at the beginning, we can say at the end. Meghan Markle and Harry, to me, when I saw those pictures of them, you know, volunteering after the fires, a few people would go there, but I think Justine Bateman's got it right. They're disaster tourists. They're trying to get some stuff. Catherine would instinctively have known, right? This is what I think, that was the wrong thing to do and would have done it privately without expecting to be heralded it. That is the significant difference, and that is why, in my mind, she and William will take it on and they will change it and they will modernise it and they will save it. $1 million.
Well, I believe that is the case too, but I think you're right, and I think that you're absolutely right in pinpointing Catherine, because, you know, the book I did on Catherine has been a big success because of who she is. I mean, you know, trying to find out the human behind this quite a bit of an enigma, really. And I think that what we've seen since her diagnosis and the way that she handled that, by the way, I think has been tremendous, and I think that she will be a great asset. But no, the Meghan and Harry thing, they seem to desperately want to cling on to what they once had or experienced for a little while. Harry more than Meghan, but they did get adoration when I went around Australia and all the islands and even in South Africa. They got a great reception. They seem to now realise that they may well have got it wrong.